Time right now is 9:35. I was looking for my glasses. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNZ Plus. And this morning, spring is in the air for a lot of folks. That means getting the house ready, whether it is to sell or whether you are a potential home buyer and you are in the market. That's spring real estate market. So to help us understand the Charlotte market in particular in our area here is Kate Terrigno from Corcoran HM Properties, the South Park office. She's here live in studio for our first visit. So nice to have Miss Kate here because she is a top producing agent. So you've got the lowdown on what people need to know. Kate, thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so first things first, let's visit what it looks like now as we're shouldering that winter into spring season.
Sure. I mean, what we're really seeing is from the end of last year, people just waiting on the sidelines, really having uncertainty in the market, not knowing what's going to happen. So we saw really a big slowdown. Now, as we kind of have gone into spring, as we've all kind of even felt as of last week with these temperatures, we have seen kind of a record ramp up, if you will, of just inventory increasing, buyers coming back to the market that kind of were holding off for an interest rate drop, and we've really just seen an increase in inventory on the buy side, buyers increasing, and on the sell side of inventory.
Oh, what does that say?
What that says is that I think we're becoming a normalized market.
Good.
People ask me that all the time. Is the market going to collapse? Is it what I think Charlotte is proving is about 2, 3, 4 years ago, it was a very fast growing market. Now what we've seen is a stabilization of the market. We've proved that we are going to remain a strong market, but we have stabilized. What that means is it's still competitive. We still have about 150 people moving here a day for Charlotte.
Yeah.
The growth shows no signs of slowing down. With that being said, we also still do not have enough inventory for all of those people.
Oh, we don't?
We don't. So we still are, under supply from that standpoint. While it's gotten better, it's still not in a perfect world where we'd love it to be. Whether or not I think we'll kind of get to that, I think time will tell. Right now, with just the amount of influx and growth the city is seeing, I think we will this will be the face of the market for future buyers for some time.
Okay, so what is the median house price if you wanted to enter the meat of the market?
So what's really unique about Charlotte when people ask me that is that we have such a range in pricing, right? When you look at Charlotte, we have everything from what we would like to say in town, right? Whether that be your Myers Park, Dilworth, Noda, Plaza Midwood, little central area there. But then also we can go 17 minutes outside the city and be North Charlotte and somewhere like Huntersville, where we have such a different price range there as well. So, it really does span depending on what zip code you're in, just because as a city, we're actually quite large, but the distances between all these suburbs and things like that is actually quite small.
Who is buying now?
What I'm seeing right now, so we're seeing a lot of people that kind of were holding off that we're going to because of interest rates, and we're thinking, they locked in that low 3% during COVID, and there wasn't anything to buy, and they were going to do renovations, and now maybe we're seeing those people kind of come back to the market because renovation costs have increased. But we're also seeing a very big part of my clients right now are actually coming from other major cities like Los Angeles, New York, Northeast, Miami, right? Because what Charlotte offers that those cities don't is still a more affordable housing market, just in comparison to those big markets.
Sure.
So I'm seeing a massive kind of influx of CEOs, CFOs from big companies that are basically planting roots here now in Charlotte.
Well, looking at the images here of these beautiful pictures, oh my gosh, CFOs and CEOs are the only ones that can afford something like that. But what do you say if someone is a wannabe first-time home buyer?
Well, right now is a great time because we did just see a drop in interest rates, right? And that is the candidate that is going to make the biggest difference for in this market, because at a certain interest rate, it really does affect a first-time home buyer. So what I would tell them is this is actually a really great time to kind of get into the Charlotte market because where interest rates are, or I think they have stabilized and they have dropped to kind of allow those people to re-enter the market.
That's great. That's real encouraging. And for those who are wanting to sell their home, seeing that we're kind of in this even stabilizing real estate market, what's the 1, 2, 3 ABCs of doing
Sure.
it the best way?
Call me. No. Just give me a call. No.
Yeah, right.
Listen, with spring, we will also have more inventory. So what is really important is going back to basics. This isn't the market where you're just going to put a sign in the front of your house and do nothing, and you're going to have 20 offers in a weekend.
Right.
That has gone away. So what's important is pricing it right, strategy, getting it ready, having the right marketing, professional photos, all of those things. If you do properly, the demand is here in this market. But if you miss the mark on one of those things, then that's when we're seeing price reductions and things like that. So what I tell people is it's really about going back to basics, getting your house ready, decluttering. This is where, your local agent comes into play, right? What's the
Right.
best time? Should I get this painted? Is this worth, the investment? Will this make a difference? So real strategy and also pricing appropriately. I think we kind of hit this huge boom, and then we've seen a lot of people that kind of throw a crazy number out there, and that's when you're seeing the price reductions.
Okay.
But
wow.
for selling your house, just going back to basics, doing what is necessary, professional photos, marketing, all the things brokers do behind the scenes that really play a role in the end result of selling
And these
your property.
photos are gorgeous, definitely appealing in all the videos and working with the agent. How about as far as trends? What are you seeing? What are people wanting?
So one trend that I'm definitely seeing with this kind of migration from other cities is I'm seeing a lot of people really kind of opting for a lot more new construction, a real demand. I've kind of seen that really kind of shift. People just wanting what I would call move-in ready. A lot more resistance to maybe wanting to do renovations, where that was kind of a lot more common, I would say. I see
Yeah,
that's
if not just a few years ago, it seemed
totally.
like, people
So
were ready and
A lot
willing.
of people want move-in ready. I've seen a real kind of pop, if you will, in the luxury home market of just wanting that new construction property. Another thing that we're kind of seeing in this market is kind of a lot of duet style homes. I'm sure you've
Oh,
seen
yes,
that
seen
going
many of
around
those.
town. So that's a new thing for Charlotte, where we see developers taking a single family home and creating 2 out of them. And so a drive for that too is just that kind of luxury townhome growth is kind of
Yeah.
really booming, which is also why we're seeing traffic and infrastructure where
Seriously.
it's, as anyone that's been in Charlotte for more than 10 years knows what it looked like back then. So
Yeah, and the duet type of home, what is that saying that people are wanting their in-laws nearby or friends nearby?
sometimes, and I don't think it's so specific. Sometimes I think
Okay.
it's very relative to where you're from, right? If you came from a place like New York City, a backyard might not be as important to you, and you might prefer to be in let's say that kind of neighborhood in a brand new place without a backyard.
Right.
So I think I think that really just shows evidence to kind of the different kind of markets that we're grasping here in Charlotte. People kind of coming from all over and based on those big cities, because our home prices have obviously risen as well, but their demands are different and what they like might be different.
All right, well, from this side of things, it seems like everything seems encouraging in the way of buying and selling. What are you seeing in the next, this year, 2026? You said interest rates coming down, a lot of folks still moving in, and we're stabilizing. Is there anything that we should be on the lookout for? Maybe watch for a red flag or 2 out there?
I think you just need to really, I think one thing for first-time home buyers or even second-time home buyers sometimes is trying to time the market perfectly.
Right.
And that's a really hard one. If everyone had a crystal
That's
ball,
always-
everybody would
yeah.
do it, right? So I think give yourself grace, have an agent that you trust on your side, because there will always be another property available and something else will come up. It's very hard to time it. I find that people kind of get themselves in a catch-22, if you will, when they try to do that. So you just need to kind of lean into the process. The great news is Charlotte is projected to continue to grow. So there's no bad time to get into this market.
Okay.
Once you get in, you're already into a rising market. So the investment should hold true.
You're in pretty good shape, yeah.
Yeah, so I think just, being patient, really understanding the process and seeing as much property as you can, right? There's nothing, I always tell people, there's nothing wrong with saying, going into a house and being like, this really isn't for me. Sometimes when you can say that, you actually learn a lot more about what is for you in that process, and it really helps narrow in your focus.
And we talked Charlotte-centric, but like you said, 17 minutes out. Are there other neighborhoods, areas that are bound to do well or are kind of on that upswing?
Absolutely. We're seeing a huge influx in Huntersville, Lake Life, right, always.
Right.
But also south, Waxhaw, Marvin, Union County, Fort Mill even. I sell in South,
Oh, yeah.
because people forget how far sometimes we are at the bottom of the state.
Right.
Fort Mill has seen incredible growth just because of its proximity to uptown Charlotte, and all that has to offer as well. The great news is that no matter your price point, there really is so many different areas that are so close to city center that kind of offer somebody, a place to get into the market at any price point.
Looks like we're where it's at, Carlene.
All roads lead to Charlotte.
we're in good shape here. it
Everyone wants
seems.
to be here.
Everyone wants to be here.
Everyone wants to be us.
So
That's it.
pick an area, you're good.
We can find you something.
Kate Terrigno, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Great information, like the conversation here. Our first-time visitor with Miss Kate, who, by the way, was a former journalist. So
she knows what's up.
So broke it down into nice,
Right.
consumable, snackable pieces of information
appreciate that.
we can take home. All right, we do appreciate that. Kate Terrigno, thank you very much from Corcoran HM Properties. She is in the South Park office if you need her.